Hi students, we're spending 2 weeks on this content, so there's a lot to cover. I want to start this unit by giving you an overview of what we'll be looking at as we learn about middle childhood and adolescence. First, you're expected to read this document or listen to the audio associated with it. Second, read chapters 8 and 9 and the PowerPoints associated with them. Third, read the articles noted in the syllabus. Fourth, make sure you watch all the videos in this unit. They're fairly short and very informative. That said, the chapters do a pretty good job of presenting info on middle childhood and adolescence. Chapter 8 focuses on middle childhood and defines it as the ages from 5 to 11. These are the ages I associate with elementary school, from kindergarten to 5th or 6th grade. The chapter gives you an overview of some of the developmental issues that children experience during this time in their lives. As you read this chapter, I encourage you to consider the following questions. First, since the text alleges that standardized tests don't take into account cultural differences and learning disabilities, why do we continue to use them? Moreover, is it fair to give them to those who experience cultural differences and learning disabilities? Second, what is the role of peer groups in children's development? Does peer influence increase with age? And which is more important in children's development? Family relationships or peer relationships? Third, the chapter in slide 4 reference the importance of play. I'd ask you to consider whether the importance of play decreases as we age. Or have we simply convinced ourselves that we have more important, more adult things to do with our time? As adults, can play still help us to practice various roles, develop skills, and identify solutions to problems as it does for children? Finally, I want you to consider the changing family. How does the increase in step families, families headed by grandparents, and LGBT families change society? Moving on, Chapter 9 focuses on adolescence, which is defined as anywhere from 10 to 22 years old. I think of it as age 13 to 18, the teenage years, with ages 11 to 12 being the tween years, and ages 19 to 22 being the young adult years. You probably have your own sense of things, and that's okay. The focus in this chapter is largely on developmental issues. Please make sure you watch the 2 brief videos on Gilligan and Kohlberg's stages of moral development. They supplement what's in the book and should give you additional insight into these theories. Gilligan's work was considered groundbreaking in many ways, as it challenged the perspective of developmental models that were based on boys and men, and that these models also applied to girls and women. It's no coincidence that her work came on the heels of the feminist movement, when women were advocating for more rights, and there was an increasing awareness that women's experiences were fundamentally different from their male peers' experiences. Chapter 9 also discusses the variability in adolescents' experiences. Note that their experiences, as do other age groups, vary based on many characteristics, including, but not limited to, gender, race, sexual orientation, income and economic status, educational experiences, and a parent's educational status, religion, health status, and relationships. Chapter 9 also discusses different challenges that may arise during adolescence, including eating disorders and mental health issues such as suicide, and then sexuality. Note the different risk and protective factors for different issues. To refresh your memory, risk factors are factors that increase the probability that someone will experience a problem such as suicide or eating disorders, while protective factors are things that reduce the likelihood that they will experience them. Bottom line, risk factors increase, protective factors protect and decrease. Poverty is almost always a risk factor for any problem that we see, which is why if we want to address many issues in society, we must address poverty and economic inequality. Moving from the chapters, I want to talk about the other readings. The brief article by Dr. Mitchell addresses empathy in children. Although intended for teachers, the article should lead us to think about how we cultivate empathy in children and adolescents and the benefits of doing so. When I read the 6 characteristics of highly empathetic people, I see characteristics that many of you and many social workers have, and these are characteristics I'd like to see in more people. Dr. Price Mitchell talks about the empathy-building habits of great teachers, and I'd like to apply each of these to social workers as well. First off, social workers create meaningful relationships with our clients. The development of rapport between the social worker and the client has been shown to be the single most important factor in whether a client is successful in their work with a practitioner. Second, nurture self-efficacy. Active listening, supporting, and encouraging are considered key skills in this process. Something that all social workers need to learn to do and do more of. Third, teach values associated with good citizenship. Teaching our clients, who often come from unhealthy and chaotic environments, how to be good citizens helps them function better in society and helps them with problem-solving skills. Fourth, inspire them, our clients that is, to be the best. Social workers should inspire our clients to be the best they can be. We should convey optimism that our clients can achieve their goals and go on to achieve whatever they believe they can. 5. Expose clients, or in the article's case, students, to different opinions and worldviews. Where appropriate, social workers should challenge clients' perceptions and expose them to alternative views, especially if our clients' perceptions don't work in their best interest. And then finally, the article talks about linking curriculum to real-world activities. This one's a bit harder to apply to social work, but in our work with clients, we need to link what we do in the office to their outside lives and to other settings beyond their work with us. We need to help them take the information they get from us and apply it to other settings and to their work and interactions with others in their lives. Moving on, the 2-page article by Rachel Sumner on adolescent identity development gives us some brief info on a central issue that challenges us throughout our lives but is widely believed to start in adolescence. This is the question of, who am I? And it's a question that many of us will return to many times in our lives. As someone who recently turned 50, I've joked about experiencing a midlife crisis. And this is the issue of who I am, and it's been a challenging one. Adolescents may try new identities out through sexual experimentation, different hair and clothing styles, hanging out with different types of people, and other things like this. But ultimately, they're trying to answer the question that we'll continue to address time and time again: who am I? The next article from the Pew Center on Hispanic trends also speaks to the issue of identity, but specifically with regard to Hispanic youth and the terms they use to describe themselves. Note that there is little difference by age, but great difference by generation and whether Spanish is the youth's dominant language. The terms we use say a lot about us in many ways, and this is not unique to the Hispanic Latino community. We see differences in the terms others prefer as well, such as black versus African American and gay versus lesbian for gay and lesbian women. The next set of articles look at teen pregnancy rates. Overall, rates of teen pregnancy are falling, and this decrease has largely been attributable to, quote, less sex, more contraception, and more information. But there are still significant racial differences in teen birth rates. Black and Latina girls are twice as likely as white girls to become pregnant during adolescence. As you read these 2 articles, consider how your own belief systems impact what you think we should do to address teen pregnancy. Also note that teen moms are more likely to live in poverty, and that poverty, as we have noted elsewhere, is a risk factor for most problems. If you don't support sex education in the schools, how should we address the problem, since information has been shown to reduce teen pregnancy? It's important to continue to revisit your values and examine their impact on the solutions you support or don't support to social problems such as teen pregnancy. Last but not least, make sure you read my article with Emily McCabe on the knowledge, attitudes, and skills for social work practice with LGBT youth. Although there have been significant legal changes for LGBT individuals since the article was published in 2007, many challenges for LGBT youth remain. It's important that all social workers, regardless of their background and beliefs, be prepared to work with LGBT youth and do so in a way that affirms them. This is particularly important in view of the data presented in the PowerPoint that shows that LGBT youth are significantly more likely to attempt suicide than their heterosexual peers. Okay, this about summarizes the content required for the next 2 weeks. The week of February 29th, you'll have a discussion board due, and I'm also finalizing info on your ECHO map and life event papers. Unfortunately, the assignments given by previous instructors are not very clear to me, and consequently, they'd be hard to grade, and that's not fair to you. I'm working on making them more clear and more transparent so they'll be easier for you to complete and meet a grade. Have a great 2 weeks, and reach out if you have any questions about anything.